I'm showing you the front of a 1862. This tractor has the front axle, front spindles, tie rods, and power steering, which will go on my 149. I currently have standard steering on it, so that cylinder and mounting bracket will be used on my 149 eventually. These wheels have greasable bearings, which I think I already have that type on my tractor now. Some of those wheels didn't have the grease zerks in them. Some of them did. So this is a direct swap, no mods whatsoever, to the 3-digit and quiet line called wide frames. That spread frame axle will fit in the quiet lines and the 3-digit wide frames. Now we'll go out here and look at two axles. One axle is the yellow axle is the old axle that came out of my 149. This axle here is another spread frame axle. This axle here has these forward swung spindles so that the tractor can accept a 54-inch deck. Tractors without that swung forward spindles would not take the 54-inch deck. If that axle was straight across, if the spindles were straight across, like on the other tractor, you couldn't put the 54-inch deck on them. And if you see here, if I can get it to stay up, now shout. There. I suppose if I had a tape measure I could show it to you. There. I do have a tape measure. It's approximately 3 1/4, and that's approximately maybe a 1/16 over 3 1/4, 5/16. That's about 3 5/16 also, if I look at it closer. So that axle will swap right underneath a quiet line, any 3-digit wide frame. This tractor has the heavy duty tie rods off an 1862. It has grease zerks. It has grease zerks, greasable bearings, little hubcaps. Yep, little hubcaps. They just kind of dress up the tractor a little bit. I kind of like them myself. 6-ply tires. I didn't use the 149 pivot pin. I used the bolt from the 1862 and put it in there. If you're using a mule drive or for a mowing deck, this will hit. So on that mule deck, you'll have to cut that little pipe away so this will clear. That bolt can go in either way, but this is the direction I put it in. I put it in this way so I could change the axle if I ever broke the axle when I was using a front end loader. I see this one's got a couple cuts in it too. So I'd already planned on swapping this axle out when I did put the front end loader on it. So I'll be putting one on that's got straight. This is bowed. This is bowed forward for the 54-inch deck. So I don't know whether it'd be a good one for a front end loader or not. But the fact is, it's got a couple cuts right here, and that's probably right where it'll break, if it ever decides to break. I will say also, my 1862 has a front end loader on it, and I have broke the front axle a couple times. So that's why I have spare axles laying around. I have never broke a spindle. I have never broke a spindle. Those are 1-inch spindles. And I've never broke a spindle, never tore up a bearing. I never had a problem with that. I have broken axle though. I assume it's because I was traveling too fast with a full load of stone. It weighs about 500-600 pounds. Now, this tractor has a 14 horse and it has the deep sump oil pan. That bolt and nut I cut short. I actually ground them short so that I would have clearance for the oil pan. I think I have about quarter-inch of play, quarter-inch clearance. So when I ground that bolt off, cut the bolt short, ground the nut short, and I had to re-drill the hole for the cotter key. And this idea here is that you can snug that axle up so that you have less sway in the axle from right to forward to rear. Let's see here. Yeah, when you try to move the wheel, I have very little play in my axle. Very little. Almost unnoticeable. Of course, I had a good axle that had minimal wear too. But the tie rods are off the 1862. The drag link has to come off a tractor that has these heavy duty axles. It has to be like an 1806. It has to be like an 1806 something that has this heavy axle but has the old steering box. Because if you look, let's see if I can get the light to work. If you look, this is the great big, I'm saying great big ball joint. The bigger ball joint that's on the spread frames. This one here is the actual ball joint that fits a 149 quiet line, wide frame, and narrow frames. This drag link is an OEM part. This drag link is an OEM part. So there's no modifications whatsoever. That drag link you can pick up used one, $5-10, maybe, I don't know, $15 if you know the right guy. And there's no modification to this tractor whatsoever putting this axle on here. The only modification is shortening that bolt, shortening the nut, and re-drilling the hole for the cotter pin. This bolts right on. I'm very pleased with it. Seems to steer a whole lot better than the old original 3/4 spindle axle too. There's something about the way this is designed that it steers a whole lot easier. I'd almost say that it's because those bigger spindles compared to that smaller bolt. There's bushings in there. But the bolt, it swivels on the bolt. So everything's 3/4 shaft. It's a direct bolt up. No mods at all. All you gotta do is buy it and bolt it on. Thanks.